I think it's so funny that we keep weaving in that Florida thing over one verbal typo when Rico tried to introduce me and got Florida and
You know,
Sebastopol conflated.
when things stick, they stick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll go with it.
Yeah,
I like Florida. I
yeah.
like the manatees. I like the Keys. We're all good.
Like Orange Man. Like
Good
Orange Man.
You like
Yeah,
keys,
good
huh?
morning. The Florida Keys, not
Okay.
the
Okay.
Key
Okay. All
So,
right.
good morning, High at Nine News viewership. Thank you, and welcome to Monday morning. This is Yaro Kubrin. My article this morning, of course, has a real estate theme, and I will do my best to be like Rico and add my commentary as I read it, and then turn it over to the rest of these incredibly insightful commentators. So, without further ado, Cookies says LA marijuana store will close amid landlord spat. Prominent brand Cookies retail marijuana store in Los Angeles plans to close November 7th. Co-founder and cannabis entrepreneur Berner has announced on social media. The closure would be at least the second to affect Cookies branded outlets in 2023. A separately owned and managed location in Oklahoma City closed this spring. California-based Cookies licensed its familiar light blue branding and proprietarily highly recognizable marijuana strains to separate businesses that hold state licenses around the U.S. and handle day-to-day operations under a franchise model. But the situation in West Los Angeles, where Cookie's Melrose landlord is asking for a hefty rent increase, according to people familiar with the situation, as well as a publicly available real estate listing, underscores how even the sector's biggest names are not immune to the cannabis industry's wider struggles. In a recent Instagram post, Berner said he dreaded this day and having to make this announcement. This one hurts, according to a post by the San Francisco Bay Area based entrepreneur whose given name is Gilbert Milan Jr. Gilbert. Cookies tried our hardest, but we haven't been able to come to terms with our landlord, Berner continued, adding that a search for a new location is ongoing but might take some time. I want to thank my partners at Melrose for this opportunity and for fighting so hard to try and keep it. In a follow-up post 2 days later, a Cookies corporate account of the store was relocating with a new address and opening date to be announced coming soon. Business records list Berner as Cookies director. Parker Burling is the organization's CEO and president. Records show Cookies Melrose is operated by a California company called Purple Heart Compassion, according to records from the State Department of Cannabis Control. The company's principles are So, after much evaluation, we made a tough call to focus on our retail efforts in other markets. So it goes on to say that TRP manages more than 20 Cookies branded retail locations in other markets, including Florida, where I'm not from. It also says there are 67 cannabis outlets operating under the Cookies brand worldwide, with additional openings planned in New Mexico and Maine. The Melrose outlet, located in western Los Angeles, close to West Hollywood, in its strong tradition of legal cannabis, might be one of Cookies brand's most prominent physical presence. Cookies has a clothing store in Manhattan and New York, and marijuana shops in Los Angeles, Las Vegas, San Francisco. But the LA one is considered one of the country's largest legal markets. The Melrose store opened to enormous crowds and huge lines that drew the ire of neighbors. It was also vandalized and robbed during the spring 2020 protests of George Floyd's murder. After enjoying a high-flying run of success, Cookies has run into some legal troubles this year during the marijuana industry's overall downturn. There's some suits, blah, 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 blah. Sometime earlier this year, Cookies landlord at the Melrose Avenue location listed the roughly 3,300 square foot location for lease. The asking price is $7 a square foot, with an opening date
Wow.
of September 1st. Real estate agents connected with the listing did not return comment to MJ Biz seeking comment. So let me kick off my commentary real quick and then hand it over to you, esteemed commentators. So real estate is at its core primarily an underpinning to legal cannabis. And when they say that the landlord wants $7 a square foot, let me be a little spicy in this. First of all, I love Cookies, Berner. We both grew up in the Sunset in San Francisco. I got mad love for the fact that they validated that cannabis merch, music, triumvirate in a way that everybody wants to. Some are trying. They're doing a really, really good job of that. They also have great roots in Mendocino and Humboldt, so I'm not mad at the company at all. And they've had some great practitioners on their team when it comes to real estate and dispensary development, from Brian Nash to Johnny Delaplane. I got nothing but love for the brand. But here's the truth. If you get to a place as a tenant where your landlord can charge you $7 a square foot and you have to move your business, it means you fucked up. Okay? You fucked up, because a lease is a bundle of real estate interests. A lease stays with the property even if the property is sold and your landlord changes, which means that them as tenants went into this and built in a ticking time bomb for them, or a rental increase that they could have avoided had they done a better or more aggressive job negotiating the terms to allow them for renewal options with moderate stepped up increases to the rents. So this was something that was baked into the deal that they did before they took possession. And maybe they made a choice to take that risk on and hope that it would work out. But I would say don't ever take that risk on when you're a tenant. Don't ever have a lease where you're that vulnerable to the landlord raising the rents in a way that doesn't feel like it's an equitable and sustainable business outcome. And so I'm sad for them because I know it's a great store. I know a lot of customers enjoy it. I know that Burner and Cookies in general has had a lot of crowd response, fan favorites. Everybody loves it. Even my teeny little kid wants a cookie sweater. Burner, I'll give you my mailing address later. But the lease, somebody fucked up or decided to take a risk that now, with hindsight being 2020, didn't make any sense. And I feel sad and bad for that because at the end of the day, real estate is a critical component to cannabis businesses, and somebody gambled with this location and to the detriment of the brand and to the detriment of the customers. This is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News, Monday morning.
Man.
If you ever smoked weed in a cookies bag, it's not to the detriment of the customers.
And I will say this, I have because that's in the neighborhood. I have seen a for lease sign on that space for about at least the last couple months.
Which means that the landlord is marketing it prior to that tenant vacating. But that's the other bad thing. Marijuana News, wherever I read this link off of, said that they reached out to the listing team and the team never got back to them. You're a bad real estate team if you don't get back to incoming leads. Shame on you. You got to do better than that.
Maybe they don't need the money.
Well, it's rough on Melrose. You got to sell like $800 T-shirts to pay rent there.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, but this store has had a lot of scrutiny, so I know the neighborhoods are going to be super, super excited about this store closing down, because there was even a letter that store is in Los Angeles, and I know the city manager and city attorney of West Hollywood at one point in time sent a letter to L.A. Requesting that the store get closed down because it was such a public nuisance.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. That I've heard just complaint after complaint. The neighborhood isn't happy with the store. Law enforcement has had a lot of reports with that store. It's just unfortunate. And yet it's LA, right? When you're a dispensary owner, that's like the spot to be. So
and
unfortunate. But
I
they
wonder
have lots of other options all over the world.
You know what I really wonder, and all this is when they actually do close, who's going to take their spot on Weed Maps, because they have the #1 listing in that little pocket right there.
Who's got the next deepest pocket?